Welcome, everyone, to Conversations That Work. I am Anita Sandoval, your host. We will be discussing 2 common fears that is holding you back from setting boundaries, how to stop making it 100% about them, and I will give you 2 techniques to practice the limit setting and boundaries to help yourself on your path to decrease the people-pleasing and appeasing. The goal in this episode is to disagree in ways that are healthy, that is normal, without any anger or negative emotions or thoughts creeping up because of those people-pleasing habits. I will then give you a quick tip on practical strategies on how to stay firm in saying yes or no in a manner that is relaxing. I will help you find your voice on replacing the unhealthy habits of people-pleasing and appeasing with new ones. And stick around in the end because I will give you a bonus strategy on ways you can say no where you don't look like you're being the bad person. So stick around because this episode is for you.
Tired of feeling misunderstood, frustrated, and emotionally disconnected when communicating with other people? This is Conversations That Work with Anita Sandoval, where you can learn how to maintain healthy conversations with the people who matter most. A podcast where you can gain confidence and get tips for having challenging day-to-day conversations that make you feel understood, validated, and heard. Here is your host, a licensed professional counselor specializing in communication skills, strategies, and techniques, Anita Sandoval. Let's start the conversation.
Welcome back, everyone. Are you guys enjoying the summer break? I know I am. And of course, my girls are because they are sleeping in. Don't have to worry about homework, about getting up early. They can stay in. So I really hope you're enjoying your summertime. Let's go ahead and start with the quick tip. I know normally I do story time, but I decided to just go ahead and give you the quick tip and strategy, and then we'll go ahead and continue with story time. The quick tip is to help you stay firm in saying yes or no in a manner where you are cool, calm, and collected. In a way where you are comfortable saying no, where it comes with a strong meaning, where you really mean no. And in this strategy, I want you to notice and feel how the sensations in your body are different from a firm no to a no that is nervous and stressful of people pleasing. Kind of where you were in middle school, and I know peer pressure was very big. Usually in the middle school, you had this reflex, this resistance, this fearful way of wanting to say no, but you couldn't. So then maybe you said yes. I want you to play around with a no to feel the safety of it. So something you want to ask yourself is, am I saying no from a place where I am quickly saying no because I am fearful? For example, fear of abandonment or fear of rejection or fear of disappointment? Or am I saying no because this is something that I don't believe in? You want to play around with questions where you know for a fact you will say no. You want to start with baby steps. You want to go general, and then you can play around with specific situations where you struggle saying no. For example, Some of the questions could start simply, such as something that you hate to eat. Maybe broccoli or lettuce or just a not favorite plate. Somebody tells you, hey, do you want fish? Oh, no, I don't like that. I hate that. Do you feel how that sensation of no with the plate that you don't like, that you hate, it's no, not happening. I'm not even going to taste it. As opposed to, well, I don't really want to do it. So you want to think of it that way. Other questions that you might want to play around with is, for example, are you married? Do you live alone? Do you have kids? Do you have pets? Do you have siblings? Do you live in this city? And so you want to play around with these questions with someone that you know, and then you want to make outrageous, crazy requests where you would absolutely say no within yourself out loud. Ask a friend to help you make some crazy, silly requests, such as, hey, why don't you come pick me up at 2 a.m. so you could take me to the park so I could go walking. I mean, how crazy is that? You're going to tell them, well, I'm sleeping. But when they give you those crazy requests, you want to then ask yourself, what's the first thing that wants to come out? Even if it was a silly, crazy request, I have this notion to automatically say yes. You want to feel that body sensation. So another question you may want to ask yourself within these crazy requests is, do I have to do that? Because if I don't, what would happen? And then you want that other person whom you're practicing these crazy requests with to be able to hear them say no. You want to be able to hear yourself, but then bounce back with a friend to hear you say no. Because are you saying a quiet and meek no? No, well, no. Lingering no? Oh, no. Or a very firm no? No. See the difference with those tones? You want someone to help you in case you're making a very meek, a very persuasive no, as opposed to a firm no. You want to practice this with your friend. I know in some cultures, especially in the Mexican culture, if we were even to mention the word no, oh my goodness, salta la chancla. The belt's coming out. How dare you say no to me? You are not supposed to say no to your parents. You are talking back. So those are the common beliefs in some of the Mexican culture, or maybe another culture, where were you allowed to say no in the house? And if you were not allowed to say no because they believed this was talking back, you need to reprogram that belief. And that means playing around with crazy, silly requests. And then knowing your body when you are making a peer pressure type of no to a well-grounded, firm no. That way, when somebody's asking you something, you are able to feel your body sensations to see if you are giving a true, sincere no and a true, sincere yes. Feel it through. Practice it with your friends or family, someone you're comfortable with in saying no. Now, if you don't know anyone, feel free to even record yourself saying no. Play it back. See yourself. How do I look in saying no? How do I hear myself in saying no? And practice. I always say, practice makes progress. So there you go, our quick tip.
Connect with Anita on Facebook, facebook.com/conversations that work.
Let me recap the episodes we have been doing. So in case you have missed one, feel free to go back. In People Pleasing and Appeasing Part 1, we discussed what is people pleasing and appeasing, what are the characteristics, advantages, and disadvantages. In Episode 2, we discussed how to stop from that automatic response of people pleasing and appeasing. And in this episode, we're going to focus on limit setting or boundaries. You're going to hear me interchangeably use those vocabularies. I might use limit setting and I might use boundaries. They both mean the same thing. You're making value-based decisions and you're setting the limits where you are making yourself of importance, where you are choosing to love yourself and respect yourself. And in each episode, there is a cheat sheet. So feel free to go in there in the description and you'll see the link where you can get those cheat sheets. Okay, story time. So a couple of years ago, my daughter at that time was between 3rd and 5th grade. I remember talking to her on how if she had a problem, she should be able to talk to me, and that she could be able to talk to me, the good, the bad, the ugly, without any fear of me getting upset at her. And there was a situation in school, and I guess she didn't tell me. I found out through the teacher, and she told me, well, this is the situation, and I'm afraid that if I tell you this, you might get mad at me. And I told her why. Because at that moment, we shared a difference of opinion. She believed one thing where I believed another. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my goodness, here I am trying to raise these girls to speak out, to be empowered. And how did this happen where she is afraid to speak up because it would be known as talking back? That is when we sat down, and this was during lunchtime in school. So I told her, you know what? You bring up a very good point, and thank you so much for bringing this situation to me. Why don't we discuss it further when we get home? So once we got home and we set a time to discuss it, I did tell her, okay, let's talk about this talking back situation. The word talking back has a different meaning between what you believe and what I believe. And so I told her, what do you think talking back is? And she then said, well, if I say something that is different from you and that I don't agree with you, then I'm talking back. And that's when I told her, well, no, that's not talking back. It's okay to discuss issues, conflicts, and actually, that's very healthy. You want to discuss issues and conflicts with people because then how are you going to come up with solutions? How are you able to move forward if you're not able to discuss that? And how are you able to bring up what you like and don't like and set limits without communicating and having a conversation on that? So then in the end, what ended up happening, we discussed on how talking back was more on the tone of voice and the words being used, be it respectful, no bad words, no name calling, no putting down. And that goes both ways, me with her and her with me, because just because I'm the mother or because I'm an adult doesn't mean that children deserve any less respect. We're all human and deserve the same respect. So that's exactly what I told her. You may be a minor, but you are equally respected no matter who the adult is. Therefore, if you want to speak up, even if it's your teacher, you can feel free to do that, and I will advocate and I will be there to support you. And even with me, if there is a situation, You talk to me as long as your tone of voice and there's no name calling. And if I change my tone of voice, please call me out on it and let me know, hey, you're raising your tone of voice. Ever since then, I started noticing how her voice, and I'm talking about voice and opinions, how she was more expressive on what she believed in, on what she did not believe in, just by clarifying what talking back was about. She was starting little petitions in the 5th grade on how 5th graders were not allowed doing this and pre-kinder was, and she would speak with the principal, and then, the classmates would help her to carry out whatever the goals that they wanted. She was able to reinforce her values. She was able to empower herself through her values and her opinions. And all I did was guide her through it. I want to give you these strategies so that you can be able to empower yourself and identify who you are. The goal here is to learn how to disagree in ways that are healthy. So I will begin by mentioning 2 common fears that is holding you back from setting boundaries. Remember, in this episode, we're going to discuss boundaries. Super important when people pleasing. What is holding you back? Well, there's a huge belief that it's not a good thing to talk back, or you're being selfish, or you're the bad person. And as mentioned before, if you were raised to even talk back, which is stating your opinion, you were a bad kid. You were a bad person. So now it's learning how to reprogram that. The goal is to disconnect from that belief that self-care is doing something for yourself, that it's coming from a place of love, and that loving yourself is actually you being a good person. The options on growing up were be a people pleaser or you're selfish. That was the culture norm. So you need to learn how to disconnect from that belief that just because I disagree with you doesn't make me a bad person. Now, let's discuss the second fear, because I will let you know this is a common fear for everyone. The fear of standing up for yourself, setting limits, means the possibility that you will lose the person or relationship. And yes, that is a real fear. I will absolutely validate that, because you setting boundaries, and I said this in the last episode, who doesn't love a pushover? So you have to question your relationships. Were they there for you or what you gave them? The goal for that is to validate your stronger sense of self, who you are, knowing your values. If you are grounded on your values and what you believe in, you will create a sense of independence, meaning for who you are. And therefore, if somebody leaves, you don't need them anymore, because they are not the ones who validate who you are. You knowing what your values are will know who you are. So you become less dependent on them. And a quick tip here is do activities where you get that sense of who you are that does not involve caring for others, but caring for yourself. So think of activities that would help you. What can you do to love yourself? What can you do that gives you meaning that does not involve caregiving, pleasing others, but yourself? For example, maybe writing, journaling, exercise, swimming, any activity that just helps you create a hobby that doesn't involve pleasing others. try to get out of that habit. Give yourself a new identity, because it is very common for people pleasers to identify as the helper, the caretaker, the caregiver.
Conversations at Work with Anita Sandoval, making challenging conversations easy.
We already talked about the 2 common fears. I even gave you some strategies on that. But let me give you some more. Stop making it 100% about them. Stop, take a step back, and observe what is going on. You then ask yourself, do these people in this relationship like what I do or the service I provide from them? So these are questions you can ask yourself to know that if you lose them, were they there for me, or were they there because they were taking advantage of my people-pleasing behaviors? And you want to ask yourself, do I really want to be in a relationship where they love what I do, but not me? So these questions that you want to ask yourself would be, do they care of my wants and needs? Is it always about them? And boundaries actually create more stability in relationships, because the other person who does respect you wants to know what you like and don't like, so they could be able to respect you in a way that is validating for you. And one of the biggest questions I like to always ask myself, if I set limits and the other person gets angry, who am I responsible for? What is my responsibility in this situation? And another one I like to say in my mind is, are they my child? Because I'm the one who's the adult here. And if they're an adult, then they need to take care of themselves. And one of the things I also recommend is carry a notebook, especially for the people pleasers that are barely practicing to shift out into respecting and setting boundaries. You want to write down one thing in the beginning of the day that you're going to do for yourself. Because it's not a habit, you will automatically want to start the day. What can I do for this person? What do I need to do for this person? What is the to-do list that does not involve to do for you? So take the first part of the day, real quick, a couple of minutes, to just write down one thing you can do for yourself that does not involve caring for others. It could be something so small as taking a bubble bath, taking a drive. I don't know about gas prices right now, but taking a drive, listening to music, taking a walk, listening to music that you like. Something simple like that.
Sign up for up-to-date information and resources at conversationsatwork.org.
Okay, guys, now we're getting to the really good part. I am going to now give you 2 important strategies that you can start using today and start implementing so you can be more comfortable in saying yes, saying no, setting boundaries, and how to push through those sensations within the nervous system to feel more confidence and ease. The first strategy is a hands-on approach. You want to construct a physical boundary, okay? You could do a string, a hula hoop, maybe a circle of pillows. You sit on the floor in the middle, and you have your boundaries around your space. Create your own physical space. And then you want to experiment saying no, and you want to have like little objects such as pillows, plush toys, or little figurines that represent people or demands. Like if somebody's demanding something from you and you don't know yet how to say no, you want to practice saying no. You want to move the object that you choose inside your boundary of space that you created. So it's interesting. Even though it's imaginary, your body will feel the sensation. And just like in the beginning of the episode, you want to feel your body sensations to know, am I coming from a nervous state of no? Or am I comfortable saying no? You want to feel it through. Have that object come in your space and pretend it's a demand or pretend it's them going into your space. And you could easily say, hey, you're in my space. You're in my bubble. And I need you to step back. Or you can say something like, I do not feel comfortable you being in my space. So you're starting to state some limits. Something you can utilize too. Imagine that if it's a demand that someone is asking you, and if you use the techniques in episode 2, where you tell them that you're going to think about it, you can use this approach to play around on how you really feel. Whatever demand or favor that they asked you to do, put it inside that boundary. See how it feels. Is it something you're comfortable with or not? Play around with it and keep saying no. Or if you are comfortable with it, then you say yes. Feel it through. Technique number 2. Now, this one's more of an imagery technique. The goal is to create a visual distance. These are ways of saying no that is not face to face. Just so you know, this will help you say no when you're not face to face with the person. This is to help you practice. So by the time you are face to face with them, you are cool, calm, collected, confident, and at ease to be saying yes or no. Imagine putting a white picket fence wall, if you want, or chain link fence between the person or the demand. Another way of putting it is looking at the wrong end of the telescope or binoculars and having them seem far away, or the demand. Another visual distance could be looking like a faraway drive-in theater. It's small, it's distant, it's blurry, or it's black and white. One that I like to use, it's kind of like a shield, a field of light, or a protective shield around the person, where you're visually saying, you're not gonna get to me. I am setting this limit. So once you begin to think about setting a limit, even if it is an imagery, be it a fence, a wall, the binoculars, or the drive-in theater, having it be far away, or the protective shield, whatever your mind thinks, your body will respond. So that will help calm the nervous system by making that person seem far away. And therefore the demand or the problem won't be too close to you. And it will ease a little bit out of the nervous system. So the goal is to shift out of those unhealthy patterns of pleasing and appeasing. And then you want to focus on replacing them by using that physical approach of setting the boundaries and learning how to practice and saying no. See, our brain has the capacity to develop new neural pathways. So when we engage in different experiences, even if it's visual or imagination, the brain will construct those new pathways to learn how to say yes and no from a very calm nervous system. So by the time you go face to face, you will not feel that pressure or agitation or stress. You need to be committed and consistent. Any habit. I know people like to say, oh, it takes 21 days to create a habit. No, it does not. It actually takes longer. The average person will take longer, up to 66 days. And just because you learn the habit doesn't mean it will continue. This is a total transformation. This is a lifestyle change. You need to implement these strategies for the rest of your life if you want to stop being a people pleaser. The question you need to ask yourself is, am I ready to become a new me that doesn't involve people pleasing because of fear of abandonment, because of fear of rejection, because of fear of disappointment? But I will be people pleasing because it's something that I believe in, maybe a place of love, a place of value. Because it's okay to people please as long as it's not interfering with your own needs and your own values and coming from a place out of fear.
Connect with Anita on Facebook. Facebook.com/Conversations That Work.
Time for the bonus. I promised you guys extra ways on how to say no. So let's begin. The first one that you could say is, that sounds fun, but I have a lot going on right now. I'm not comfortable doing that. Is there anything else I can help you with? Now isn't a good time for me. I'll let you know if my schedule frees up. The timing right now is not good, but do keep me in mind for next time. I know this is not the answer you wanted, but I cannot do what you are asking me. No, I need to prioritize my family right now. On our next episode on People Pleasing and Appeasing, we will be discussing on how to implement effective conflict resolution skills. You guys will learn how to be able to disagree in ways where you will feel empowered. I like to call it agree to disagree, and feeling confident, feeling happy afterwards, as opposed to feeling like the bad person, guilt and shame. And I would like to leave you with this quote. This is from Paulo Coelho. He has an amazing book called The Alchemist. And the quote goes, when you say yes to others, make sure you are not saying no to yourself. Thank you for listening. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to Conversations at Work with Anita Sandoval. Know someone who needs help in having healthy conversations? Share this episode and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Until our next conversation.